Good afternoon, everybody. Good Lord, where are my controls at? There we go. It's probably going to be an extra slow day for us post holiday. I think we got one pre-submitted question from Manal. I see Manal here. Okay, and all right, Manal, is it possible to filter report by the current user name? For example, I have two columns, requester and HR rep. And if any of them have my name, is it possible to only show the records that were submitted by me? What's the data type of the report? There's probably a few different ways to go about this.
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Flow is the flow extension data. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, this is a flow. This is like a okay. So this data type is a flow execution extension.
Yes.
Okay. There are some, like if you do I have one? There are some filters like under entity filters created by me that'll show the created by user if the created by user equals the current user. But this is like a custom field that you have. Like requester is not like the created by field of the process folder. It's a custom field.
Yes, that is a custom field, so they can be different by the user. But like what I was trying to do is, for example, whenever I log in, it just shows by me. Would that be created by me? Or even if my name is under requester or under submitter, I should be able to see it.
If it's created by you, or say that one, it's either you're the creator or the assignee.
Yes.
You might look at, so we have these this is newer, these SQL-based filters. There's current user filter, and you can specify a particular field, and then you can have it do, oh, actually, you know what? So is the HR rep is the HR rep in your example assigned the task in the process folder?
It's not always the same case. So there's like two fields. One is HR rep, and then one is let me make sure I'm saying it correctly. Just a second. HR assistant and HR rep. Yes. So they both can be same, and one of them can have an assigned form, but it's usually HR assistant who has to complete the form, like the approval form.
But is that assigned to them, like actually, or is it just a field on a data type?
Oh, it's just a field of the data type for right now in the report.
And then you can add, like, then you can probably do this. So if you do SQL-based filters, current user filter, you can specify that HR rep field under the field to evaluate. And then then you can use the email address, the account ID, the user identifier to check that HR rep field.
Gotcha. And I can do that for two fields. Like, for example, there's two columns, HR assistant and HR rep. I want to check both of them.
Should be able to do an or filter here under infrastructure that allows you to specify multiple multiple fields. Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Sounds great. Thank you so
so
much.
Probably current user filter plus infrastructure plus an or, and just to show you again, those or filters are under infrastructure here. Will probably give you what you want.
Gotcha. That makes sense. And even if it's on the form, so for example, a user goes in and then they select HR rep and HR assistant, even if they are not an assignee to anything, they should be still able to filter it in and only their records show up wherever their name is available.
Yeah, correct. Yep.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
That should give you what you need, I think. Yeah, you bet.
Awesome.
All right. Any other questions? Please let me know. What was the challenge at Decisions Days? It was to leverage the Decisions Chat GPT module to do something creative. Our customer, Shift 4, they used it they kind of created like an IDP use case where they do payment processing, and they need to convert customer menus into their point of sale systems. And they were able to use it to interpret a menu and then transform that menu into a JSON format that could be automatically consumed by their point of sale system, as well as use some decisions forms to demo that point of sale experience back to the merchant, all without needing human interaction. And the second place winner, they wrote a simple application that would help with the generating of what's the right way to say it? Of like that would help write out the user stories for new requirements. They would feed into ChatGPT details of the use case that they were building requirements for, and it would enhance what they've written with additional like user acceptance or specification details. Both are really clever. All right, we got a question here from Leanne. All right, could you walk us through how to work with a JSON string so you could reference the key value pairs as well as objects within the flow selected from flow input, and also create data, customer table and customer cars table? Not sure I follow the question exactly.
Here,
Yeah.
I'll paste in like a JSON string. So
Okay.
we made a call and we
Okay.
get like the string with the customer and the cars, but
Okay.
I wasn't able to understand how to get the car object and map that into a separate car table and a separate customer table, because when I created the custom JSON object, it was just difficult.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I see. So here, let me go ahead and steal your email. I mean, excuse me, your JSON. Let's create a JSON data type here. So you created a type from JSON, right? Pasted your JSON in, and I'll just call this test JSON 1, and then click create, right? Okay, so far so good.
Yeah.
And then in your flow, like you probably are like doing a deserialize or something at some point, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I wasn't too sure. I did deserialize and then the list mapping step, but it wasn't working for me. So I figured I was doing something wrong.
Okay, now ultimately, is it you're just trying to, you're trying to figure out how to, like if I look, let me specify here my my type test JSON 1. All right, and then let me connect my done path. So if I look at Data Explorer, oh, hold on. Okay, constant, and let me go ahead and minify. Let me just minify. Just a moment. Just gonna minify this JSON string. There we go. Now I should be able to debug. That runs. Okay. So is it that you're trying to save it to the database? Why is the Data Explorer not updating for me? Just a moment here. Let me come in, we come back in. Is it ignore? Oh, output is ignore. Okay. I don't know what that is. And there we go. If I look at output, I do have a car array as a property of that thing. So is it that you're trying to iterate that list of cars to do something? You want to actually, you're trying to figure out how to save those cars to the database?
Yeah, so it's a bit of both. So iterating it with the cars and adding each individual car to a database that's referencing the customer, or maybe even like linking that customer to the car table with
Okay.
their customer ID.
So, okay, so you want to actually convert this into more of like a flat table, like create a custom table. Like you might have, let me just look at your JSON here. So here's your JSON type. Excuse me. Let's try that again. So you've got like customer ID here. You want it for this example, you want to save 2 records, both of which have the same customer ID, but different a different car.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So what you can get for free is the ability to create like a car data type that'll actually create, like give you the ability to save it, but it won't have any custom properties. So probably what you're looking for is this. Let's create a simple database structure called stored car, right? And on this, I'll say I'll do customer ID, and then make, and I'll just do make and model just to get the point across here. And I'm gonna save this. And then let's go back to our flow here. Let me make sure that those types are here. So I'm gonna save and exit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna for each, and the collection I'm gonna for each is gonna be output cars. I'm gonna do the car array. And then what I'm gonna do is go find that data type I created. So I'm gonna come under user defined types, database structures, stored car. I'm gonna find the create step here. And I'm gonna loop that. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play around with the properties I map in here. So I'm gonna come to item to create. I'm gonna do build data to let me map in my properties. Now, make and model are pretty straightforward. The for each step gives us an output of thing item. And if you want to see that a little closer, you can see here, the outputs next, you can see our next path here, item is a type of car. So it takes in a list of cars and it outputs one car at a time. So if I look at item, it's gonna have the properties of a car, and I'm just gonna steal the make and the model. Now, what I'm also though gonna do is come steal the customer ID out of the main data type, because no matter how long that array is of cars, I'm gonna have the same customer ID. And then I can go ahead and run this, it'll run. And then if I were to go look at that data with a report, and go create a report here really quick, and I can come to user defined types, database structures, stored car, and I can do customer ID, make, and model, and I'll see that stored data there.
Okay, so then if the JSON array is actually bringing back an array of customers who have an array of cars, it would be the same thing? It would be 1 deserialized step, or it would be 2?
It would still be 1 deserialized step, but you would just have to specify is output array here. And then that'll give you a list. So you're gonna pass in like a list of customers, right? Customers, this new JSON we're talking about here is gonna be a list of customers. So you probably need to just add some additional nesting here. You need to loop customers, and then inside of customers, you need to loop cars. So you might have some kind of nested for each type thing here. So this is going to give me let me see, what is the output data now? It is, okay, it's my apps test JSON. So it would be something like this. The collection now is going to be JSON deserialized output. And then I'm going to for each. And this thing is going to be called, I'm going to name this to each customer. And I'm going to rename this to each car, just since I have 2 of these now. It's going to break all my mappings, but that's fine. And so now what I want is to connect the done path of this for each step back here. Try to clean this up a bit so it's somewhat legible, even with all these lines. But what I'm doing is I'm saying, now that I'm dealing with like a collection inside of a collection. So for each is not going to be output.cars. It's going to be each customer.cars, right? And then the stored car is going to be not output.customer ID, but each customer customer ID. And I'm going to go back to my mapping editor here, and then it's going to be each car.make.model. That way I can deal with a list inside of a list that I'm dealing with.
Thank you. That's much cleaner than what I had. One other quick question.
Of course.
When you're doing fetch all, does it automatically store that fetch in the cache, or that's something we have to toggle on?
You have to specify your cache. So if you do need, the first thing I would ask is why are you fetching everything? But like if you're using like get all for your data type, under outcomes here, there's cache outcomes. And we've got some docs about this in our doc site as well. And if this is not specified, it calls that data live each time. You can then specify at the user or global level if you want to cache the output of that step at the step level. So you do need to specify caching at the step level. It's not cached automatically. Now, some of our, like these data types do get cached themselves. But for performance purposes, if this data is fairly static and you're going to hit it fairly aggressively, you can use outcome caching to alleviate some of that database, some of those database round trips. Alternatively, we do have steps like fetch entities that you can specify, like your stored car in this example, and then you can specify fetch criteria. So here, maybe I need to fetch all cars for a particular customer. And this step now configured with our, our made up data type, like we could pass a customer ID in and return only the cars for that specific customer ID using the fetch entity step.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Yeah, great questions. Happy to help. Okay, what other questions does anybody have today? Pretty small group, so if you've got other stuff, please feel free. All right, 12:25. I think that's all the questions for today. So last call here. Anyone's got anything? All right, wonderful. Thanks, everybody. You got Jared tomorrow, and then you got Eric on Thursday. Hope everyone had a great long weekend. If you did have a long weekend, have a great week.